What's up, guys? My name is Khan, and we're back today with more Railroads Online, and today we're going to jump right into it. We are going to do the one project that we've talked about forever and just hasn't been done. We see we've got the Eureka here with a nice caboose, and this is, of course, our track maintenance train. Off to do some, oh god, we should turn the brakes off. Yeah, off to do some track maintenance, and actually, we're going to go fix up the sawmill. It's been a bit. I got some big plans for the sawmill. Not exactly sure how long it's going to take, but I want to clean up the lines, add that stupid Y that everyone keeps, oh my god, that's a switch. Hold on. Yeah, we're going to add that Y in, and we're going to make a little shunt yard at the sawmill. Not necessarily a huge one. I don't really know how much space we're going to have for it, but I do want to have at least 2 or 3 shunting lanes, as well as full loops at the sawmill, so we can go completely around and come back in any direction. Basically, we should be able to do laps of the sawmill with a track. We shouldn't have to back up or do anything silly. We should be able to do complete loops of it over and over again if that's what we want to. So I'm going to go there. We're going to delete a bunch of track. Probably delete a whole chunk over to the right side more and make the, when we're coming in anyway, and make the shunt yard on the right side. I know on some of the worlds that I've seen with Dapper, there was the shunt yard on the left side of the sawmill. Of course, that's when you're facing it. And I want to leave the left side just for loading, unloading, and that's pretty much it. And hopefully get everything else set on the right side of it. It's going to be a bit of a building project, to be honest. It's going to be a lot of building today. But, you know, hopefully we can do it relatively quick. What are we got no boiler pressure. Are you serious? Oh my god, this is, what an event. We're already, come on. Oh no. First thing I want to do is lay out the shunt yard, though, and have that sort of set up. And then once we've got the shunt yard figured out, then we can kind of connect all the lines to it and have everything perfect. Like I said, it's not going to be a big shunt yard, maybe 3 or 4 lanes, depending on what makes sense with the space we have. Probably clean up this turn at some point as well. It looks a little kind of swirly in the middle. You know, it's not bad, but yeah, we might delete this whole bridge. Honestly, this is a climb, but I think I want to start the shunt yard basically right after this bridge. Have one switch that goes left that we can then use that hugs this mountain and pulls in that way, which needs to be much more gradual, and then a bunch that goes right, and have the lanes sort of here diagonally leading to, you know, this line here. Of course, we've got the secret message from Heist, which wasn't really much of a secret. Everyone pretty much knew. Just like people write on the back of dirty cars, wash me, Heist wrote, fix me, and very conveniently put the majority of the Y here. I guess everyone was expecting me to just put some switches, but you know, guys, like that wasn't, look at this. Look at that track. Come on. Like that's not even straight. That does not fit the straight line railco standard, okay, of acceptable track. So therefore, it's all going to get deleted and we're going to rebuild the whole thing. So we're going to park over here. This is where I figure, you know, the diagonal of the shunt line is going to come to. It's going to be kind of weird because it's a little bit away from the industry, but I think it'll work. And that way you can kind of actually like park your trains and set them up to, you know, go down. Actually, we're going to fix this curve probably as well. Let's just go past it. But yeah, you can like pull in, park your trains, set them up in the shunt yard, and get them going to go straight down to the smelter or the coal mine or anywhere else you need to go on the map. All right, so first things first. Boom, gone. Get rid of all this, get rid of that. Yeah, we'll leave that up to there. That's probably fine. All this groundwork, even Heist's groundwork. Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm really not. I'm not upset about this at all. This needed to be done. This was a long time coming. And then after this, we're definitely going to connect up to the under industries. This is going to be just the first project in a list of projects that is really going to make this railroad, you know, 21st century. But not really, because we're still dealing with steam locomotives. But yeah, we're gonna, oh my god, Heist, bro. Did you see that? That was like the worst foundation overlap. All right, here we go. We'll delete all this back to like there. Perfect. All that is gone. Get rid of this track as well. And then I guess we'll delete this curve as well. This curve is entirely too sharp. Can I delete this industry? No, I can't. Can you imagine? Just accidentally delete the whole sawmill? That would be amazing. But yeah, this track here is definitely too sharp as well. So, oh, okay, delete that foundation, sure. There we go. We'll just leave that like that. That should be fine. You can always relay that in a bit. And this is going to have to be much more gradual. This turn wasn't too bad. It was this turn right here, that little sharp S-bend. It was definitely too much. And there's tons of room for us to just come in here at a much shallower angle. All right, so we'll cut this back. Honestly, you know what? I'm just going to delete this whole bridge. So what I want to do is I think I'm... Oh, okay. Well, I didn't really want to delete that, but we did it. What I want to do is try and make this as straight as possible. Let's just put this wooden trestle back. Now, I'm doing the wooden trestle here as a support instead of doing the foundation piece, just because I found when I was doing the foundation piece here, the logs didn't always roll off it super nicely. With the wooden trestle, you get this sort of like, you know, a little bit of a lip here, and that makes sure that the logs drop down and roll in. All right, perfect. Got that set up. So we're actually going to keep going this way as straight as we can for a little bit. Just because I am curious. We haven't put any foundation yet, obviously. We will put that after. Not too worried about it. I am curious just to see how far we can actually go with this before we run into some terrain problems at this elevation. In case you guys haven't seen me build any shunt yards before, when I build them, I like to use all these pieces that snap together. I know you can use the Alt key when you're placing track to kind of make everything straight or at specific angles or whatever, but I like using the pieces that snap because, number one, you can do this and you can make perfectly level track without having to worry about the foundation. But number two, you can just make really perfectly aligned parallel shunt yards, which just looks fantastic to me. So if we go like that, see, look at that. That's actually like perfect. Right at the height of the ground. It basically forms to the ground. Don't even need groundwork here for that. We'll still have groundwork, but that's actually really, really good. So if we do this, and then we build a shunt yard off that way, so now we would need... not really the world's craziest S track, but we need a track that sort of turns and comes this way and kind of snakes a little bit. It's interesting. We almost need that whole Y moved over there so we can come in, which I don't want to do that. That's a lot of extra work as well, moving that whole Y section, because it's pretty well done. But yeah, we really need that whole Y. Honestly, there's no way we're gonna get around it, is there? We're gonna have to move, unless... the other option is we come in at this from an angle. So if we have this switch the opposite way, so it's angled this way, and then, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to angle these switches. Something like that, maybe? So you can see the line comes in a little bit more diagonal. We're still going to have to do some sort of an S thing here. We're going to have to curve that a little bit and then come up, but that won't be too bad. The only issue is this is now straight. So this will have to curve out, but I think this is more than enough room to make the curve from here to there. And then this will give us plenty of room to build a shunt yard. So let's actually start going now with the shunt yard stuff. So we're gonna have a switch left here as well. So that'll be 1 lane. That'll be 2 lanes. Those will be really small though. See, I feel like the shunt yard needs to be done like actually the other way. Like if we do it like this, so if we go... it'll be like a diverging shunt yard, not with a switch right, but there we go, like this. So if we do this and diverge it out, and then go like this, now it's on a bit of a diagonal angle. You know what though, if we're gonna do that, I feel like we can line up this switch better with that point. So let's line that up better first, and then we'll come back and re-engineer this a little bit. All right, so I placed a switch here. I think this is actually going to be the starting point again. It's pretty much straight in line, comes up, it'll come here, and then this one on the left can turn and go that way, super gradually following the hill. I think that'll be perfect. And then this one on the right, we're actually going to need some, you know, foundation pieces. I won't be able to build this with just switches, but I think what we can do, just for now to show like sort of what's going to happen here, if we do something like this... right, then we could have this switch here. Actually, that might be perfect, to be honest. We can delete this one. But this switch here will be the switch off that goes to the shunt yard, which will be this line, or this line here, which will curve over and go to the drop-off point. So we can, you know, not really have the whole shunt yard built in as part of the drop-off point, and then we'll connect this with just a regular standard piece of track. So this now here will be our shunt yard. Which we can do with a straight line like this, and then switch left in, right? Perfect. And you'll notice these are diagonal, but if we just keep building this out with switches, so that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes, which is perfect. So we'll keep it at 4 lanes, and then we're just gonna build this straight just to see how we're gonna intersect the track. but ideally this will basically be a shunt yard for the entire sawmill, and these should be nice and big lanes because they've got this huge diagonal angle before they reach the track. Yeah, so there we go. So we'd intersect there, no problem. It's actually still the same height as the track. That's fantastic. So yeah, we'll come back over here, reform up the shunt line. So basically we can delete every single tree between here and the sawmill. So let's get rid of all those, just so we can actually see what we're doing. And these will be some really nice shunt lanes for storing cars. It should be actually perfect for storing all the logging cars that we have. We won't have to actually keep them at the freight depot anymore, which is really, really nice because we're actually starting to run out of space at the freight depot. I'm still gonna keep the freight depot as like the main hub, and I think I'll always have, you know, the most shunting space at the freight depot, but eventually I want to have like a little shunt yard at the smelter as well because it needs some places to store cordwood cars, for example, stuff like that. And obviously the sawmill needs some shunting because, you know, we spend so much time loading up products here. Oh, we could make this shunt yard really crazy. You know what? Let's do it. We could do this and go switch left that way. And I think those are still parallel, right? Because that's like, yeah. So then we have this. And then if we go a switch right like that, now it's like a double-sided shunt yard. Oh my god, it's gonna make so much. We might as well, because we just got all this clear-cut space. So cross over there, right? We'll just keep building these lanes up. Oh, this is gonna be so cool. This is gonna be most of my shunt yards. Well, actually, all my shunt yards so far, they've only been one side. So I have one that's like a bow, where it literally looks like a bow, and then the other one that kind of looks like a parallelogram, where they both come in and go at the same length. Oh, right, because I guess the outside lane, I need to put a switch on it if I want it to be parallel to the shunt lanes. Otherwise, it's going to diverge out. So the shunt lanes are going to go there, and we're going to bring them all back in. This one, yeah, I guess we have to do this if we want to make it line up with those lanes. Or we have to curve all these ones. Oh, shoot. I got to think about how I want it. We should curve. No, these ones should curve to be parallel with this lane. Yeah, because that'll keep the trains more aligned. This is losing. Okay, hold on. We got to clean this up. It'll be fine. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. It'll be good. I just got to clean this up. The lanes all have to be parallel to this one, not to the inside one. It's just a little bit confusing. All right, I don't know what I was thinking before, but this is the proper configuration for the switches for the shunt yard. It's straight coming in this way, and then these ones angle out, and they go towards there. So now we can fill it all in. This will be a 5-lane shunt yard, plus you'll have the lane for delivering, which comes off here. So you technically would have 6 ways to get through. I'm wondering, I guess we need to switch at the end of the delivery to let you go left or right. I was thinking you might always want to loop back with the delivery, but we might as well give the option. There is going to be this giant open sort of space here, which we could, I guess, put an engine shed in at some point, maybe park a porter or something. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like, we don't really care about that open space. The nice thing about having these shunt lanes diagonally like this is they're going to intercept the track, and of course, they're going to be much, much longer. And of course, when we're loading, it's going to be kind of weird. So you'll have to come into the shunt lane, pick up your load, and then back it up, and then go forward to load it or unload it or whatever. So there is that. But I don't really see a way we could get out of that unless we actually had the shunt lane completely, like, out of town and before the sawmill, which I guess would make sense, but this will be fine. This is a good use of space. It's going to be a lot of storage for cars. These lanes are actually massive. Probably bigger than the ones at the freight depot, to be honest, but doesn't really matter. We're, of course, going to bring them back in, so we'll probably do it like a bow line where this outside track will be the smallest, and then this inside track will be the longest, just because I think that'll work for the switches. But we're just going to place the rest of these crossover pieces and, you know, then do the final switches on the other side. And then this part will be done, and then we got to wire it across there, connect it to that one. And then, of course, I want to build some way to loop back around. So if you're coming in this way, down here, I want to be able to loop and get onto the loading area. Or if you're coming through the loading area from reverse, you need to be able to loop and come back around and get back out onto the main line. So I want to be able to do like a complete loop, but that'll be the last part we do because, you know, I got to see how all the rest of the track is laid out first. I'm actually really excited to be laying a track again. I really enjoy doing it. And I kind of enjoy making shunt yards and logistic areas more than just laying, you know, track through the wilderness. I mean, trailblazing is fun, and I'm super excited to get the ironworks and all that done, and get those industries connected so we can actually, you know, deliver some high value product. But I really like building shunt yards. Shunt yards for me, and just seeing all the parallel tracks or like switch depots and stuff. Yeah, it's actually kind of my favorite thing to do. All right, perfect. I've gone ahead and fixed it up, and I think I'm actually going to use this inside line as the main track because it is a really, really short siding, and it has all the switches on it. And of course, we get to this far siding here, which is just super, super long. But we're going to be able to use this to store a lot of cars. I think it's good. And then you can see it actually goes back out towards the main line. And we're going to put a little switch there. And then we're going to do some foundation work to clean all this up. And of course, replace it with straight track, make it look pretty. There is going to be one issue, which is if you're coming back empty, let's say. So let's say you deliver wood, you pick up your cars here or whatever, you bring them out. When you're coming back in, we need to be able to either go through this way and then loop around and come in this side of the shunt yard, or go in this way and then loop around and come around that side of the shunt yard. So we're gonna have to make a loop track for sure. I don't think this needs to be able to turn and go that way because you're not gonna ever really go from the shunt yard there. You could go out behind, but yeah, we're gonna need some sort of a loop in behind there, but we'll worry about that afterwards. For now, let's see if we can get this. So hold on, we can actually delete this piece. That was just a placeholder. And basically we have to make a curve from there to somewhere on this track. That seems really steep. I'm almost wondering if we should push the shunt yard back just a little bit more. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna push this back a little bit more. Just a couple more. It's kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest, because we have to completely redo the reverse switching. But yeah, we're gonna push this back probably like 2 more pieces. Make that inside lane really, really short. But I want to just get this shunt yard set up, connected onto that main line, and then we'll do it all up with the foundation. It'll look great. I'll snap my fingers, and it'll just be perfect. And then we'll move on to step 2, which is actually laying the track to go around in either direction. Oh yeah, I gotta snap my fingers. Okay, and just like that. Perfect shunt. I love the way shunt yards look when they're all done. So I finished up the shunt yard, added the foundation. I always do the foundation after the fact. Like I've said before, I've done a few videos where I've made shunt yards. If you guys want to see how it's done, I'll put some links in the description. But, you know, I always like to put the foundation down, and then after the foundation's done, I go and delete all the cross pieces and put in all the rail pieces 2 at a time. It looks brilliant. And I've actually continued. You can see I've got a little bit of foundation over there. We've got some more work to do. I've left this switch open. I'm not sure yet if we're going to do something here or not, but I'm thinking maybe I could have this switch go to a round table with like a single shed just for storing a couple engines. There is a lot of space in here, but we still need to make a line that comes back around. But either way, this is a beautiful looking shunt yard. I think it looks really, really great and fills the lumber camp nicely. So we're actually gonna go grab our Eureka and bring it back, which should be fine. I've continued the track here. Got a little bit of foundation there. That was really just to line it up with that kind of outcropping because we have to clear that. And we're probably gonna have some other switch offs here as well, like to connect to that logging camp spot. Although do we need I don't know, we might just put one anyway. But anyway, we got a switch here. And this switch is set up, good to go. And then, of course, this continues down to the main track. This fill is a little bit higher. Before, this fill was a hill, kind of sloping downwards. Now, this is all completely level, flat. And when it hits the curve, that's when it starts going down at 1%. I might delete this and put a bridge. It's not really too bad. This is gonna be nuts. Like, I've actually been spending a fair amount of time doing this, but this was the project I really wanted to get done and have it just like a perfect logistical hub. Not huge, you know, just a small shunt area, but enough that, you know, you can have multiple people running around and have space to move around each other without getting in the way. So let's load this thing up because it's been sitting here for a while. And we're gonna just back it through. We've got pressure for now. We honestly should be fine. Wait, do I have brakes on? I probably have brakes on. Hold on. There we go. Turn those off. No tender brakes. Perfect. All right, and we'll just back through here. So like I said, this is a little bit of an uphill. I did want to rebuild this because this curve, as you can see now, it's a lot smoother. Before it was like a straight and then to a tight turn and then a straight. Now it's actually kind of smooth. And then, you know, it goes down towards the smelter, iron mine, coal mine, all that nonsense. But now we can back in. I'm thinking this is the lane here. It's a little bit sharp of a turn, but you know what? That's not that bad at all. And then perfect. We'd be driving through here. This, of course, would go to like a little, yeah, I think a round table with just a single shed, just to put a couple porters, you know, in case we need some engines for shunting or whatever. And then other than that, we back out. We do still need a bridge at the front, so we should probably do that right away. That can be completed. Then we got to connect this line up here and then the line on the other side at the load, unload, and do a bunch of Y stuff in here. So I don't want to put the round table yet because obviously we got to still make one other line that I got to figure out how we're going to do it. We need a return line. So if we're coming forward in the direction we're going reverse, we need to be able to turn and go straight into the loading area. Oh, did I jump a switch? Oh, I jumped a switch. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, actually, you know what? It's only the caboose that jumped a switch. We're fine. All right, so we've got a switch here already. This is all connected up. This switch is actually in a good spot. This is where it's going to start to go left, and we're going to just hug this contour and make this as shallow as possible to get into that loading zone. Before, it was a pretty steep turn. It's pretty much the same thing, except this switch is kind of back a little bit further. And then now all we got to do is really connect a bridge from here to there. So I'm just going to do it with a wooden trestle. And I'm going to try and just do it in a straight shot. And then that way we can adjust the height all at once. And, you know, just have it as a constant slope down towards this other point. So same as before. Last time it was like a 1% slope or something. I think this will be pretty much the same. There we go. So we bring it down to here. 1% is just... It's like kind of a little high. The rail deck will honestly just clip like right through that 1%. Like you won't even notice the lip because the rails themselves are going to be much, much smoother. So there we go. Perfect. And now we just draw this bridge, hopefully perfectly straight between the 2 points. You know what? That's pretty good. It's got a little bit of a curve at the end, but that's actually a pretty good bridge. Straight enough. I'm sure if this was real life, this would be done with fill because it would be so much cheaper to, you know, or maybe one of those piling bridges that Peyton was talking about. But I feel like fill would just be so much cheaper. Even though this valley is really, really deep, it would probably make a pretty big pond. But either way, it keeps with the original motif we had, the nice bridge coming into the sawmill. I think that's perfect. And of course, we've got, this is kind of a funny Y now. We could really cut across there. You can see the track right there. We could cut across there, but you know, it's fine. It's smooth. The turns are nice. I think it's a perfect setup. And oh my God, look at the number of switches you have to pay attention to here. This is crazy. This is going to be a busy place. I'm really excited for it. So now I think what I'm going to do is, you know, some magical editing stuff, just because it's probably going to take me 6 years to draw the curve. But I think we're going to take a curve from here and connect it up to there and get it onto that foundation piece and connect it into the main line. Okay, boom, and step 1 of the Y is complete. This is actually a super gradual corner, which is really nice. It's gonna be really, really smooth. And we've got a switch on this side, and we've got another switch over here. So now what we need to do is connect this straight line up across over to that connection point there where the station is, and we need to connect this up as well and put a switch in between. But I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually start here and try and drag the foundation around because this is gonna be like the tightest corner for sure, and that obviously is relatively gradual coming in. So the Y is actually really, really big. You know, you're gonna have one switch way over there right at the loading area, one switch way over there, and one switch way back here. But I'm trying to do nice sweeping gradual turns here, turn this more into an industrial area that's actually, you know, good for big trains and doesn't cause any problems in the future. You can see this curve is just super, super smooth. Everything so far is really, really gradual turns. The sharpest turn is probably the one coming out of the shunt yard onto the main line, but even then it's only like 15 degrees or something. So it's gonna be a really, really nice yard to use for, you know, loaded trains. We might even be able to store some loaded trains that are ready to go and use little shunting trains and get them all set up. I think that's perfect. That looks really, really good. This looks like it goes way too straight and then curves really sharp, but it's a constant radius turn, so it's gonna look kind of weird. It's like doing a big U-turn, and then we'll have to put a switch somewhere in here. See, the problem is, this is a 25-degree turn, and a switch is not a 25-degree turn. So if we put in a switch like here, for example, See, it's got to go straight for a bit before it curves back in. So we almost need it to be like a 30 and a 30, and then a little bit of a flat section in the middle. Because you can see, like, look, this isn't going to fit the radius. Oh, boy. See, if we were to put this here, look, there's no way. All right, you know what? We're gonna straighten this out a little bit. These are gonna be some gnarly curves, but I think I got an idea, and we'll come back with this chunk completed, hopefully. Okay, problem solved. We just needed to lay the foundation from this side first, and now that we've laid the foundation from that side over, it makes sense. It creates a straight section. So this is actually a 30-degree turn to make this turn, which kind of sucks. It's gonna be a really sharp one, but to be honest, there's not really much else you could do over here unless you actually just made a bunch of like lanes that you back into from the other side. That looks a little bit messy. We gotta clean that up. But yeah, we'll clean this up, we'll fix it up, and then we're going to attach another chunk to this, probably at another crazy 30-degree turn, just because that seems to be the name of the game here. And just like that, I've got a Y, finally. It's only been like 3,000 episodes. It's been like, I don't know, maybe like 5 episodes. But still, we've got a Y now. It's a little steep, although I don't think it's any steeper than it was initially. I had to move this switch over, so now you come a little bit to the right, and then the switch comes. It just allows you to make this angle a little bit shallower, but it is pretty much like a 32-degree angle coming through here. Although it's been made as shallow as possible. Then of course we've got a switch right here, which allows us to go out to the main line, or we can come back around to the station here. Now, there's only really 2 parts of the track left to make here. The first part is we need this track to come back and connect up to the switch that's over there, of course, so we can come in from there and run into this. And then of course we need a track that connects this all the way over to the back side of the shunt yard somehow. I want to be able to do laps around the sawmill, be able to do complete circles. But anyway, before we get into any loop back tracks, loop sections, let's just connect this final piece up, and then we'll try and, you know, take the locomotive and look around and see what it feels like. I really like the layout of it. It's nice that we've got the shunt yard and stuff, but we are just missing that one loop back piece, which I'm not exactly sure where we're gonna put it, but we'll figure it out. Alrighty, we're back, and I can say I think this is fantastic. It is so smooth. I was thinking a lot about the loop thing, to be honest, and I feel like we actually have to move the loop to a different location. So you can see here, we come in from the main entrance, and it's always sort of like a one-way. You want to come in from this direction, and then you pick your route. So if you go left, you're going to load up the wood products, and then of course you can take the Y out. If you come to the right, you go to the shunt yard, and you could come in, or you could go into the log drop-off and then loop back around and leave out that way if you want. The way I see it is you'll be coming in with an empty engine, you'll go through the shunt yard, you'll pick up your load, but your load will be empty. So we need to be able to go out that way and then loop back around and then come back in the entranceway into the loading area. The other option would be to then take your empty cars and back them up down the main line and then going forward, but I don't want to do that. I want to make this like a very functional area and sort of like a flow through area. Same sense, if you're coming back, you want to be able to come back the freight depot, and instead of coming this way into traffic, you want to be able to loop that way, come around, and then come back up the main entrance. So there's one last thing I want to do, and that's of course build that loop section, but I think we're going to build it over there. Honestly, the shunt yard could have been built on the other side, but there's not really as much room over there, but that's where we could have put it, you know, to make this work just a little bit better. But let's say I go backwards here, you know, this would be if we're coming in from the iron mine or the coal mine or whatever, you know, we'd be coming in straight this way, and there's no way for us to get to here and over onto that loop track. And I looked at, like, you know, maybe doing crossover sections here, but there's so many switches, it's hard to actually find a spot. If I had a 3-way switch, I might be able to do it, where I could have a switch that goes to the right and the left, but because all the switches are 2-way, there's not enough space here to really make that happen. But if we back up all the way to here, and we put another Y here, which is what I'm thinking we need to do. We need to have a switch that goes off to the right here as part of the Y, and a switch here that comes off to the left off this curve. So we'll be able to go left this way or right this way, loop through the trees, and hit up with the main line, which means if we're actually coming from one of these coal ironworks or whatever, it'll actually be a complete detour. We don't have to come this way. We can just go completely left that way. So that's what I want to do. Let's just take a look here real quick and see what we got. Let's throw a tender brake on just so we don't find our Eureka at the bottom of the hill. But I'm thinking we break the switch here, come off here, come off there. We have a Y on this side as well, so you can come in from either this direction or this direction. So if you pick up your empties, you can just loop back all the way around to the start of the sawmill. And it'll kind of take a little while to load up at the sawmill. It'll be basically a big detour, but I think it'll work great. I didn't realize there was a big valley here. But yeah, this is going to be the last section. We'll trailblaze through here and then hopefully connect up to the main line. And then, of course, we can actually use this as a complete bypass of the sawmill. It's kind of like a 2-in-1. All right, I completed the double Y section. This area is amazing now. It is just so unbelievably industrial. It's not double tracked at all. It's all still single track, but it has a flow to it. And the flow would prevent trains from hitting each other. It's just kind of amazing. I'm actually really, really big fan of this. So we're going to take the Eureka and we're just going to do some slow laps around the area so you guys can see all the different routes and just sort of understand how it's going to work. I think it'll work really well for multiplayer. I might have to double track this section here at some point, but honestly, I don't really want to double track anywhere. I know that like double tracking on big, main lines is a common thing in railroads, but in narrow gauge up in the mountains and stuff, I feel like a lot of places you do single track and just sort of like passing lanes. Like the coal mine, it's a giant single track route, but we could easily put a passing lane or two on it, and that would be it. So I definitely want to do some of that at some point, but either way, I'm really happy with how this sawmill turned out. I'm so happy about it. Like, it's just, there's been a lot of build-up into this project, and the reason why is just because, it is one of those big projects, and the big projects do take a lot of time. So I guess I was just sort of procrastinating to not take the time to do it properly, but totally worth it. This took me way too long to redesign, but the track is super smooth. There's some tight turns, which we'll see here, but just overall, I think it's going to be great. So this is the Y that we have coming up from the, coal mine, iron mine, smelter side of the map. This is still the only way to get to that side of the map. So if we didn't need any sawmill products, we would just go left like we're doing now, and this will bring us straight back onto the main line, completely skipping the sawmill. We're just going to coast here because I want to reflick this switch. This is the loop track, so this is a little bit of a tight turn here if you want to loop back to go back to the sawmill or whatever, or back to the logging camp or any of that stuff. But, it's not too bad. It shouldn't be that big a deal. And we just coast on through. And of course, we've got a second Y here as well. This is sort of a little excessive. We probably don't need this many Ys, but, I figure we might as well put them in. That way it's done and it's pretty, and, we don't have to worry about directions. And it's very easy for us to turn trains around now. We've got a complete loop at the sawmill, so we should just be able to go right here. This is a little bit of an uphill. This is sort of on a hill up here, so this is a little 2% climb, which obviously isn't a big deal. And you can see back that way towards the freight depot on the main line, and then, of course, this way loops up and also connects to the main line. So really cool stuff. We can completely ignore the sawmill now if we're going to get iron or coal, which I'm just really, really excited about. I think that's like a proper thing. And that way, too, logging trains could come in and out of the sawmill through this line without interfering, with all this other stuff that's going on. But anyway, we come back into the sawmill, back onto the bridge. Again, it's a 1% bridge, so same as it was before. It was always a little bit of a climb coming into the sawmill. It's actually kind of nice because it helps you with your braking a lot. You can use this hill to slow you down. And I guess the line is set for us to go left first, so let's do that. So now we're always going to load from this direction and unload from this direction, no matter what. We're always going to bring our trains around, come through that loop back around, and come back into the front. That way we're always pulling in from the front, and we can always tell which lane we want to go. So we're going to go this way first, which of course would be if we were going to load up some fresh product. And we would come in, and you can see nice and gradual now, nothing too crazy. This also makes it a lot easier for us when we're loading, a longer train. We've got a big run up here. The train can be empty all along this, no problem. And it shouldn't pull through on these corners at all. So we can just come in, load up whatever we'd want to load. I love this area now. It's so good. It's just really, really smooth. I think it's a really, really functional area. I'm gonna go flick the Y switch over here, so let's let this coast. Flick this guy. This actually makes me want to have a bunch of people come run trains, and then I'll just manage the sawmill with, like a porter or something. I still didn't make the turntable yet. I'll probably do that in the future. It's not really something hard to do. I just got to put down a switch, and then, of course, a turntable off that shunt yard area. We'll get there in a sec. But yeah, I'll probably do that in a future episode. Not really a huge rush, to be honest. We can always store engines in the shunt yards for now. And maybe if they add a maintenance shed, it would make more sense to have like a maintenance shed here. So you could just, you know, pull off and do some maintenance on an engine. But either way, coast on through there. Perfect. So that would be, of course, if we were doing a loading section and then we would go back out onto the main line. Let's flick that back because we're going to need to come back through. All right, perfect. How are we doing here? That is also, oh my God, there's so many switches in this area now. I love the fact that it's like really functional. Everything's great. It's smooth, but there are a lot of switches. It's insane the number of switches in this one area. You really need a dedicated sawmill person now just to run around and man all these switches. I love this area though. It's so clean. There's so much like good track, I feel. It's just, I'm really, really big fan of the layout and I think it's really functional. This corner's a little tight, as you can see. You know, the Eureka doesn't like it. There are some, this is one of those corners I feel that, you know, wouldn't exist in real life, but it's smooth. So, you know, it didn't derail us or anything. It is a smooth corner. All right, so we're coming back into the sawmill now. So we gotta slow down our train a little bit, run forward, let it slow down on the hill. And we gotta flick this switch here to go into the shunting sections. So we'd flick this one over. And now our train goes to the right, away from the load areas. And we could go to this left one, which would go into the unload. I'm just gonna go straight into the shunt yard instead. It's pretty much the same thing, but you can see we got this one track that goes left, and then of course has a Y there that lets us go left and loop back around if we wanted to, or go right and go out that way. So we could obviously unload with a log train, loop back around, and as long as nobody's, you know, on this main line, we could come right back out. So you can see here we're coming through. Normally you would come through, unload your logs, go right, and then come back through that other loop section. But this Y does exist here just in case you feel like, you know, you want that option. It's a thing. You could always use this Y just to turn around engines. But I mean, you know, it is what it is. So this is the only part that's not completed. Again, we'll probably just pull that back, have it go to a round table with like, you know, a single shed. Shouldn't be too hard to set that up sometime just to store a couple engines. And then of course we keep coming through the shunt yard. We could unload our trains or load up a new train. And this is kind of the thing. If you pull in with an engine from the freight depot, you load up. Then you have to kind of go through this section around the loop and then, you know, come back into the sawmill to load. So it's a little bit of a process to load up your train, but you're always driving forward rather than reverse. You could obviously just back out onto the main line and do that, but I feel like it makes more sense to do it this way. So there we go. We can pull straight through. And full speed, just kind of coast through this corner. Again, it looks really sharp. It's no sharper than the corners behind the load area. So if your train can load and make it out, you should be able to do this. But there we go, perfect. And now we could go all the way back. And it's a wonderful, functional area. So, of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm really happy with it. I think the layout's perfect. I think it, you know, it allows us to have multiple trains and everyone can kind of queue up in the same direction. And we can do some really cool stuff with that. But also, it just works as a much more functional space. I'm definitely going to store some log cars over here. Store an engine just to do logging runs. Maybe make a wood depot over here at some point as well so we can get some fuel and, you know, have all that stuff going. Last thing we got to do is connect the other three industries, the oil field, ironworks, and refinery. I feel like I want to get on that pretty soon just because I want to, you know, start running some coal trains. We've got a lot of coal, we've got some iron products, and I want to start getting some more expensive goods. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure, of course, you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time. Now we've got a racetrack. We can literally just race trains around this track.